What did it mean to dress in a world without writing? No fashion records, no painted portraits, no words to describe what was worn, yet clothing shaped identity, survival and ritual in Neolithic Britain. From wool and flax to beads and dyes, garments carried memory and meaning, and today fragments in soil and tools of weaving whisper the story of how people clothed themselves in a land of rain, ritual and silence. In Neolithic Britain, clothing was not recorded in words or images, yet it played an essential role in daily life and social custom. Most garments were made from materials that decay easily, plant fibers, animal skins and leather, leaving only fragments and indirect evidence behind. What is known comes from preserved textiles, tools, imprints in pottery, and comparisons with better preserved regions of prehistoric Europe. Clothing was practical, but it also communicated skill, identity, and connection to the environment, and the act of making garments was slow, communal, and deeply embedded in seasonal routines. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden mysteries of the past, please like this video and subscribe, as it helps the channel grow and allows me to keep bringing these stories back to life. Clothing began with the land itself. Sheep provided wool, cattle and deer supplied hides, and plants such as flax and nettle were processed into fibers. Each material demanded skill and patience. Hides were scraped, stretched and smoked to resist decay, while wool required shearing, cleaning, spinning and weaving before it became cloth. Archaeological finds confirm flax cultivation in early Neolithic Scotland, with carbonized seeds recovered at Balbridie in Aberdeenshire, and impressions of woven cloth survive on pottery sherds from Glenluce in Dumfries and Galloway, dating to around 3,500 to 2,900 BC. Nettle fibers, though harder to process, were valued for strength, with parallels from waterlogged European sites such as Denmark. Seasonal rhythms shaped clothing, shearing in spring, harvesting plants in summer, preparing hides after autumn slaughter. Garments were costly in time and effort, repaired and reused rather than discarded, and even scraps could be patched into new garments or used as wrappings. Wearing these materials was a constant reminder of dependence on land, animals, and seasonal balance. Each garment carried the rhythm of the year stitched into its fibers. Which material do you think carried the greatest symbolic weight for Neolithic communities? Wool, flax, or hide? The garments themselves rarely survive, but the tools remain. Spindle whorls of stone, clay, or bone are found across Neolithic Britain, spinning fibers into thread, while loom weights, though less common in Britain than in continental Europe, point to weaving traditions that may have used different techniques or wooden components that have not survived. Bone needles stitched hides, while awls pierced leather for ties and fastenings. At Skara Brae in Orkney, bone pins and needles suggest sewing and fastening garments. And the Glenluce textile impression demonstrates weaving in Neolithic Scotland. Across Europe, finds of loom weights confirm weaving was widespread, and Britain likely shared in these traditions. The regularity of loom weights elsewhere implies established techniques rather than trial and error, and weaving large cloth pieces required organization and space, hinting at shared activity. The tools themselves show garments were shaped to fit, not simply draped, allowing freedom of movement in farming and herding. Textile making was not a casual task. It demanded hours of spinning, careful weaving and coordination, and the presence of tools in domestic spaces suggests garment making was integrated into everyday life, part of the rhythm of households. How do you think the presence of textile tools in homes shaped daily life and identity? Britain's climate in the Neolithic was cooler and wetter than today, demanding clothing that could withstand rain, wind, and long hours outdoors. Cloaks or capes of wool or hide likely formed the outer layer, secured with ties or bone pins, while tunics or wrap-around garments of woven cloth offered flexibility. Leather footwear, stitched or laced, protected the feet, while hoods or coverings shielded against rain and cold. Design balanced practicality with mobility. Farming, herding, and tool use required freedom of the arms and legs, and there is no evidence for rigid or restrictive garments. Instead, adaptability mattered. Clothes that could be loosened, layered or repaired easily. Archaeological parallels from Denmark and Germany suggest similar garments, hinting that Britain shared in wider European traditions. The best preserved example from this era, the Alpine Ice Man known as Ötzi, wore layered hide garments with grass insulation, demonstrating the sophistication possible with Neolithic materials. And while Britain's wetter climate destroyed such direct evidence, similar principles likely applied. Garments were not uniform across Britain. Regional variation likely existed, shaped by available materials and local custom. In wetter western regions, heavier woolen cloaks may have been common, while lighter flax linen garments suited drier areas. And footwear may have varied too, with some communities favoring simple moccasin-like shoes, while others used more complex stitched leather. Clothing was more than protection. It was a reflection of environment, skill, and identity. Each garment carried the marks of its maker, from the choice of fiber to the stitching technique. And to wear clothing was to carry the land upon your body, a daily reminder of dependence on animals, plants, and craft. Which garment do you think best symbolized resilience in Neolithic Britain? The cloak, the tunic, or the footwear? Clothing in Neolithic Britain was not plain. Even though most fibers have decayed, traces of dye residues and plant remains suggest that garments were colored. Natural dyes could be extracted from plants such as weld for yellow, madder for red, and possibly woad, or similar plants for muted blue tones, while lichens provided earthy shades and bark, and roots gave browns. Bright colors required effort and knowledge, making them rare and possibly reserved for special occasions. Decoration went beyond color. Weaving techniques could create simple patterns, while fringes and stitched embellishments added texture. Fastenings were practical but also decorative. Toggles and ties made from bone or antler were carved with care. Beads of stone, amber, jet, and shell were worn on clothing or as separate ornaments, and finds of Whitby jet beads in chamber tombs show long-distance exchange and symbolic value, suggesting that appearance carried meaning far beyond the everyday. Identity was expressed through these choices. Ornamentation may have marked age, role, or community affiliation, and a cloak edged with beads or dyed in rare colors could signal status or ritual importance. Garments for ceremonies or funerals may have been more elaborate, reinforcing the idea that clothing was a social language as well as protection. Clothing became a canvas for belonging, even without writing or metal. People recognized each other through material choices and shared styles, and the care invested in decoration shows that garments were not simply functional, they were statements of identity, memory, and connection. What do you think mattered more to Neolithic communities? The color of clothing or the ornaments attached to it? Clothing was never neutral. It marked the stages of life from childhood to death. Children likely wore simple garments, cut down from adult clothing or stitched from smaller scraps, altered as they grew, and these garments were practical, allowing freedom of movement while conserving precious material. Adults dressed for labor and responsibility. Their clothing reflected full participation in farming, herding, and craft. Tunics, cloaks, and footwear were shaped for endurance, stitched and repaired repeatedly. Older individuals may have worn layered or patched garments showing long use, each repair a trace of memory and care. In death, clothing gained symbolic weight. Burials sometimes include pins, beads, or textile traces, suggesting the dead were dressed deliberately. At Dorchester and other sites, beads and fasteners found with burials hint at adorned garments or shrouds, while elsewhere in Europe, waterlogged graves preserve fragments of woven cloth, showing that wrappings or burial garments were common. These wrappings emphasized care and respect, even when bodies were later rearranged in communal tombs. To clothe the dead was to prepare them for transition, not decay. Garments became part of ritual, linking the living to the ancestors. Through wearing, mending, and burying garments, clothing became part of personal and collective memory. Each stitch carried meaning, binding generations together, and clothing was woven into both daily life and ritual custom, becoming a marker of identity from birth to death. How does thinking of clothing as part of the life cycle change the way we see these garments today? The Neolithic did not end with silence. Clothing traditions evolved, but they did not vanish. Copper ornaments appeared, adding new forms of decoration, yet textile and hide garments remained central, and stone and bone tools continued alongside early metal ones, showing that older skills retained value and cultural meaning. Older techniques persisted because they worked. Looms, spindle whirls, and hide preparation remained efficient and familiar, and skills passed down through generations carried significance beyond utility. To weave or stitch was not only practical, but a way of preserving identity and memory. Neolithic clothing shaped later prehistoric dress. Wool, layered garments and cloaks continued into the Bronze and Iron Ages, and archaeological finds from Denmark and Hallstatt in Austria show continuity in weaving techniques, dye use and garment forms. Britain, though lacking preserved textiles, likely shared in these traditions, adapting them to local climates and resources. Continuity mattered as much as innovation. Communities embraced new materials, but retained older practices that connected them to the past. Clothing was not simply protection, it was a bridge between ages. Each thread carried knowledge of land, labor, and time, making garments one of the most intimate expressions of Neolithic life. Even as styles changed, the foundation endured. To dress in wool or linen was to carry forward centuries of skill and tradition, and clothing became a way of remembering ancestors while stepping into new worlds of ritual and technology. Do you think continuity in clothing mattered more for survival or for memory and identity? The story began with curiosity, and it ends with a choice. Though fabric decays, its story endures as tools, imprints, and fibers reveal a society that dressed with intention, skill, and deep environmental awareness. Neolithic clothing was not merely worn, it was grown, hunted, woven, repaired, and remembered. Now the choice is yours. Do you feel most connected to the wool cloaks that carried warmth and protection, the flax linen that tied clothing to the cycles of the land, or the beads and dyes that spoke of identity and belonging? If you enjoy uncovering the mysteries of the past, please like this video and subscribe, as it helps the channel grow and allows me to keep bringing these hidden stories back to life. The soil still carries their memory, and when we walk across it today, we walk through a world shaped by thread and belief.